when you're an individual that walks around with hurt, you can internalize it all you want and think you have it put up in a cage, tucked away, but I guarantee you that'll come out in your behavior. A lot of people that feel like, oh, I don't look like what I've been through, or it just looks good on me, that's fine and dandy. You could be fine and go through a lot of shit and hold it internally. That's fine. But watch this. Watch this. All of that internal stuff is finna become out. It's finna become external. And if you don't know what external means, it just means outside. That's it. Just outside of something. External, internal, external. Okay, get it, got it, good. And if you still don't know, look up the root word of X. X means to take away, right? Exit out, right? Okay. So now that we got that understood, got our comprehension skills for today. When hurt people are hurt, they like to hurt other people, right? So we all know the saying, hurt people hurt people. It might sound weird and it's like, oh, that don't make any sense, but let me break it down. A hurt person will look to hurt another person. Do you get it now? Do you get it now? And normally, these hurt people, and of course, trauma, whatever. And, we all have our own forms of trauma, whatever. But some people either have gone through so much trauma that they're just completely blocked and full of PTSD and things like that, anxiety, depression. So they can't really um, handle social settings or social cues. And as much as they try, it just doesn't work. So these people be thinking, oh, I look good. Internally, they know that they're going through shit, but on the outside, they going to fake it, of course, as most people do. But see, these people have a notion of kind of gloating and big-headedness, I feel like. But it's only around certain people. Certain people that they're aware they're able to get away with it. But back to the behavior thing. When you're a type of person that internalizes everything and you walk around with all your hate and your revenge and your vengeance inside of you and all your disgusting things that you think about people that you want to say but you don't, or you probably do, but you do it in such a catty ass way, petty ass way. And y'all be the ones talking about some, oh, just look good, man, I look good. I ain't stressing. Meanwhile, inside, your insides are tearing the fuck up. Don't worry, I know. And that's why a lot of people who are hurt inside, they cause chaos and destruction. And then once they cause it, that if you look at them, they will be happy as a dog with a bone after the destruction that they cause. Because why? It takes off a load off of them. When they have those feelings cramped up inside of them, they have to release it some type of way. And the only way they know how to release it is to send that energy onto someone else. As long as they don't have the energy, they don't care. But guess what? A few minutes later, they're going to end up right back with that same energy. Why? Because there's so many people sending shit back that know how to do it. That's why you get what you put out is what you get back. It's not even a matter of people sending shit back to folks, or that whole "I'm rubber, you're glue." That's what I mean by sending it back. A lot of people, just internalize that "I'm rubber, you're glue" type of thing, right? But a lot of times hurt people stay in the hurt mode is because they keep throwing that nasty ass energy out and it's coming back. It's boomerang. Why? Because the universe don't want to sit with that nasty energy, and the universe don't want to send it to nobody else. It deserves to sit on the person who is sending it out, because that person needs to learn. Really learn. Not listen to what other people are saying and things like that, or listening to people who they feel like are in the same boat as them. No, these people need to go sit down, actually do the self-work, actually talk to someone outside of their normal setting to get a different perspective. Because right now, probably where all these people are sitting at, they're being aided and abetted. They're being protected by family and friends and false support teams that are allowing them to do that, instead of trying to correct it every time. Because that's the only way you're going to do it. You got to correct these people every time. It's no letting it slide, or trying to defend it because of some type of neurodivergency. I want to get this clear, because I'm so familiar with the divergent community. Just because a person is divergent doesn't mean that they need to be coddled. You understand? The coddling does more damage than anything. Coddling a child with neurodivergency or coddling an adult with neurodivergency is a disaster. It's a recipe for disaster. You don't I'm not saying don't coddle those individuals, because we do know they need some extra support, but I'm saying if they're doing something and you know it's a way to correct them, then correct them. And if they don't appreciate the correction, that's fine. But then that's when you know you have to set boundaries. And anytime that they try to cross those boundaries, you let them remember that, hey, I got boundaries. There's boundaries for you, and you do not need to cross them, and let them know. That is how you train and you raise a neurodivergent person. I feel like a lot of people have neurodivergent children or neurodivergent relatives, whether children or adults, and they let them do whatever they want in order to not hurt that person's feelings. You know what? Sometimes you have to hurt a person's feelings, especially when they're on a road rage of hell, and you know that they're messing with people, but then it's like, oh well, they got this going on, so you can't really be mad. I get it, because like I said, I'm around neurodivergency all the time. I get it, but at the same time, you have to try to nip things in the bud, okay? This is why doctors, pediatricians, when if people take their children to the pediatrician, this is why when sometimes people take their child to a pediatrician, and pediatrician's looking at the child. Now they've just recently started looking at the child's development, and when children go get checked up at the doctors, it wasn't really a thing, but now it is. And if the doctor feels, because not only does the doctor look at the child like health wise, they're watching the child in general, just at the appointment in general, watching the behaviors of the child, watching to see if the child is at their milestones. This is why baby well checks, or whatever they're called, up until a child is like at least done getting their shots, is recommended, because you're able to follow your child's development with your pediatrician, and your pediatrician is able to follow the development of your child. So if something happens early on, y'all can get the referred services, like early intervention services. This is why if you believe you have a neurodivergent child, you need to go to your pediatrician and you need to ask them to be assessed, or have a referral to be assessed for autism or ASD or something on the spectrum. Like, normally this happens when a child is 2 years old. Why? Because the brain starts kicking up and gearing up around 2 years old. If you didn't know, a child's brain is 80% like fully developed for learning and things like that by the time they are 3 years old. This is why when a child turns 3, they start picking up things faster. We're told, oh, 1, 2, they need to be talking. No, a child starts talking around 3. And if you're making your child talk before any time before that, I feel sorry for that child. But anyway, it's none of my business. Every child is different, his myself. But if you're missing cues and social cues and emotional cues from your child, and you're just thinking, oh, they're just overly sensitive, they're overly sensitive, they're stimulated, you might need to go check that out to see if they're neurodivergent. And just because someone is neurodivergent, it doesn't always mean that they're autistic. There are people who are not autistic but still have neurodivergency, and it is what it is. Humans are complex, we're different. And just because someone does something different doesn't mean that they're always neurodivergent. It just means they have a little quirk about them, right? Neurodivergency is so much deeper than people think. That's why I feel like people are just being diagnosed with ASD, which is autism spectrum disorder, left and right, because it's just easy to do. Oh, you see if one or two factors and you automatically think that person is neurodivergent. But a lot of times people just hurt, and they're in trauma bonds and things like that, because sometimes being traumatized can look like you have a mental deficit, or it can even like you have a drug abuse addiction and things like that. A lot of traumatized people are not drug addicts, and a lot of traumatized people are not neurodivergent. They're just traumatized, and that's what it is. Trauma is, it looks like both of those things. I'm not going to hold you. Trauma looks like you either have some type of form of bad addiction, because, and then we know that those two go together, but it's not always the case. And then it looks like someone is like off because they're traumatized. Yes, they're off. Yes. Yes, that's what trauma does. It rewires the brain. It rewires the body. You can have a person that was never showed any type of neurodivergency, and the moment they became traumatized, neurodivergency came into the chat, because that's how bad trauma messes up the brain. You can have a fully developed brain, everything fine, nothing happened to it, and a person experienced trauma, boom, that brain, that body, that soul is is now torn apart. This is what trauma does. And people need to understand that this is why working with your trauma is highly important, bro. It changes you. And a lot of people feel like, oh, I still feel like me. Yeah, you're going to still feel like you, but your behavior, which is a lot of times what people who are traumatized and don't have full emotional intelligence, they're not going to peep on their behavior because in their mind, they're already going to think their behavior is right, which is why we get individuals that feel like they can go out into the world and do stuff and say stuff to people and then go, oh, no, but I'm neurodivergent. Oh, no, but I'm neurodivergent. Like, duh, duh. Like, I just had a spat with a neighbor a while ago. And I haven't been telling people about my business because nobody's business, but I had to, say that my child was neurodivergent. And it's just the response that I got was just terrible. It was really terrible. And I was just like, bro, this is why I keep shit to myself, because people use neurodivergency so much in order to evade things, and it's sickening. So I just be keeping stuff to myself for the most part, but when it's like a real pressing matter, then I'll speak up and let people know. But I don't like to use those labels. I really don't, because there's so many different types of levels of neurodivergency that you have mild, moderate, and you have severe. And so a lot of people are mild. Why? Because we've grown up in a society that does not like neurodivergent individuals. I.e., look at our president. He doesn't like neurodivergent people, but has a whole flock of neurodivergent people around him. Ain't that something? So I think I rambled too much, but get the gist of what I'm saying. Hurt people. And if you know a hurt person, try to help them. You don't have to intervene too much where they don't want to mess with you, but you know, it's cool to let them know certain things and leave it there. Sometimes we have to